Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. It's New Year's. Happy New Year's, everybody. Today, we're going to be going over failed survivors, or as I like to call it, boons. Essentially speaking, if you go into your world of Don't Starve Together, before the world generation hits, you can just set it to default. But in case I want to show you something, a little bit spicy, I'm going to set it to insane and see what kind of world generation we get. So, what are boons or what are failed survivors? Well, in the Don't Starve Together, what they do is they basically give you exactly what it says, failed survivors. Somebody else that was in the constant who we have no idea what it is or who it was, because upon checking their bodies, it doesn't tell you what it is. Or if it was a previous person or whatnot. Essentially speaking, it was just a pre-generated little thing, which you'll see in a few moments. But they do leave some stuff behind. They leave little goodies. And this is something that I actually love. It's very important to note that these can be randomized and they're never in any specific area. So that is why I'm setting it to insane. If it was set to default, however, what most likely would happen is we'd have to travel around quite a while before we found it. But now that Clay actually gives us the option to actually increase it or decrease it or whatever we want to do, now we should run into them a little bit more. The fact that I set it to insane is just for this video. I wouldn't really recommend doing that because it does give you quite a few different things and can trigger like a lot of different situations. For example, you can also increase the probability of getting something that you obviously don't want to get or you don't want to get until late game. So, as we go in, we see exactly what we're referring to. Walk to skeleton, if we examine it, it just says, better you than me. And what do they drop? None other than a sleep dart. As we continue to walk around, if you set this to obviously maxed, it is also kind of fun to do if you ever wanted to do like a PvP world or something like that. Sometimes I like to mess around with it and set it to more, just because I do find like a lot of people that are in the server can obviously take and go to the boons right away and grab what they want, and then everybody else in those servers obviously left with nothing. Now, these can get pretty dicey and also pretty spicy. Pretty dicey as in you can also get some early game stuff that potentially could be a little bit harmful if you are playing with just random people on your server. But we won't talk about that right now. We'll talk about the good stuff. There are some boons in here that can give you some really awesome things, like none other than the walking cane. Walking cane is probably one of the best boons that you can actually get, and if you find the failed survivors that actually offer that, well, you're basically in it to win it. The other bonuses, of course, are multiple different things like a miner hat, things like that, and like so on and so on. So if you're traveling around the constant and you want to find multiple of these, well, you're probably going to be traveling for a while, and that's why I set it to insane. But Clay recently changed the setting where anything that's set to insane or above normal will not necessarily spawn a million in one area, but basically for that specific little zone or little biome that you're in, it'll basically give you the max that it really can. So here we go, another fire dart. So now I have a sleep dart and I have a fire dart. And as we continue to travel around, hopefully we'll find more and more. So yeah, if you want to set the settings up to a little bit higher to see what you can end up getting, well, like I said, feel free to do so. Sometimes I like to mess around and just do it just to see what I would end up with and just to see like, what kind of different boons there are. I don't know if Clay will ever add more different ones there. I'm not too sure what their ideas are behind it, but it is really cool just to have because like I said, some of them are just one-time use items, but sometimes it does give you quite a lot of stuff, which obviously, if you're not really wanting to, give yourself that amount of items early game, well, then you don't really want to ruin it. So it might be best to just leave it at default. I like to leave mine on default just because I do find that if I find too many of these things, if I get a walking cane, a miner hat, it kind of takes away from the experience of trying to survive in DST. But it's also your entire opinion on it, if you want to actually get it or not. And here's another one where it just has a bunch of rope and, of course, a little torch. So yeah, you've kind of got a little bit of variety, and there's so many different ones of these. So like, there's so many different varieties that you can actually see and end up happening. So if you are playing in a world with like a ton of people on your server, say if you have 10 plus people, if you're using a mod that allows more than the default, well, that is each. It's all up to you if you actually want to do it. I'd only recommend if you are playing with a lot of players in the server to set it to insane, but just for the sake of this video, I wanted to showcase what they are and where they would be located. But keep in mind, they are all randomized, so it's not like you're just going to go to one specific area and say, oh, there it is, now I see. It's not going to be like that. They're spread out all over and they're all completely randomized. So nothing to worry about there. It's not like anybody can rush to a specific area, for example, where the pan flute normally spawns or anything like that. They're just going to be scattered everywhere. So go out there, Look for these awesome little boons. And if you find anything cool, let me know what you found in the comments. And look for that walking cane, because if you find it, you're really lucky. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next one.